Hey guys, it's MegaJLan here. I'm at Kraken Con 2018. Unfortunately, it's the last show for Kraken, and really sad. So I have to be strong for this.
Great.
I am cosplaying OKKO because I agreed to this with MegaJLan. And because some of the voice actors are going to be here, Kari Whalgren, who you may know as Haruka Haruko, as well as Cortney Talyor. They do KO and Shannon. So, well, I just got my badge right here. I told myself I'd be strong for this, so I guess I'll try and stay strong for the day. Here it is, the Oakland Convention Center Hall. I told myself that. I already said that. I'm just rambling. This is the main hall for artist alley, dealers, and more. Autographs are right over there. I don't know who's here at the moment, but maybe we'll get a chance to see the OKKO voice actors. I don't know.
It was my video game, yes. The American Idol video game. Kids are like, Paula Abdul was on American Idol? Yes, she was.
That was a while ago.
And then I did a Paula Abdul spoof on a show called iCarly. So I was there was an episode about tacos, which is funny because I love tacos. That's not really funny, but I mean...
it's delightful.
I am a taco freak, so my nickname is Taco Bell with an E on the end. And Yeah, there was a taco judging contest, and I was the Paula Abdul slightly inebriated one, but not because it was iCarly.
Oh, so it was just like a.
It was just a wacky-doo kind of lady. Yeah, she was, but we know.
Gotta keep it toned down a little bit.
But I was a Jedi. I was Jedi Juhani in Knights of the Old Republic.
Right.
And if we're going deep cuts.
Oh, we're gonna go deep cuts.
And then.
You have such an extensive IMDb that like it's hard not to just like throw a dart and find like, oh, it's
Yeah. There's been a lot of cool stuff.
Hex from the Skylanders.
Hex from Skylanders.
And that's
yes.
huge. That has been you've been Hex in like well over 3 or 5 games.
Yeah, and also the series. I was one of the. I might have been one of like 3 actors that did the games and then got to do the TV show. I didn't get recast with a celebrity.
Wow.
I know. I was like, what? Oh my gosh.
You made the cut.
Yeah, Mandy Moore's not taking over as Hex.
You're that good. Jack in Mass Effect.
Yes.
Now, so you've been Jack in how many Mass Effect games now?
2, and a lot of DLC.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was actually curious. I wanted to ask about, because I think you've been in a couple of DLCs. What is it like going from like working on a game, having a completed project? Do you already have your recording done for a DLC? Like, do they have that planned ahead of time, or do you think you're done with the job and then they're like, guess what?
No, well, I think when I was first starting out, I didn't ask questions as much, and they didn't share as much information. I think now that I'm a little bit more of a known quantity, people do like kind of let me know. I didn't know that I wasn't sure there would be a 3rd Mass Effect, and now usually like I just finished a game that will be coming out next week. It was really cool. I can't talk about.
Oh, it's still not touch.
But okay. You'll know when it comes out. It's really good. But they've already said like, oh, when her DLC comes out. So that's nice to know that you actually, because every day that I leave the studio, I'm always like, well, I don't have a job tomorrow. Like I'm unemployed every single day. And if you're like me, and I suffer from some anxiety, that can be very stressful. So, yeah.
Great.
So it's great to walk out and just be like, who knows? Will I be able to pay rent next month? Who knows? Will I be driving this car or taking the bus? Who knows? And so it's nice to be like, when I worked, I was also the female player voice for Fallout 4. And they were like, this is going to be a lot of sessions. And I was like, oh, great. I thought it was going to be like 8 or 9. I was like, sweet. And then they were like, oh, no. And they brought out like the Bible. And it was like, I was like, oh, that's so much work.
I have heard
2 years.
I have heard so many stories about the giant Bibles involved with those open world games.
Oh God!
Because you have to have voice options for literally every possible or conceivable option, and these are games that give everybody the option to do anything.
Yeah.
So that was a 4-year process.
Actually, so Fallout 4, they did mocap tests. I think it ended up being about 6 years in total, but I worked on the actual Fallout 4 game and the 3 DLCs that came out afterwards. That was 2 years of recording, and then, yeah, that's all. Yeah,
What were the sessions like for that?
For video games, we normally do 4-hour sessions. It's just us in the booth. We don't do group sessions. For the most part, because voice actors talk too much, and so they can't get anything done. We did group reports on a game called Halo Wars, and it was me and Nolan North and David Sobolov and nobody. Like they were just like, shut up and say the lines, and we were like, what? Huh?
Wound up herding cats.
Yeah, exactly. Herding feral kittens is what it really was like. So
that sounds more adorable.
Exactly, and bitey. Yeah. So I don't even remember what the question was.
What were the recording sessions like?
Oh, what were they like? So so it's 4 hours, just us, and we would do. So there's a male player as well, so he would do the morning sessions because he's a super morning person. He's all perky and he has like 15 kids, and he's always like, I ate a bunch of sugared cereal. I'm awake. And I would like slink in at like 1 o'clock, like, okay, can we just not do this at 9 o'clock at night? so we would record for like 4 or 5 days, and then they would take it back and work on it for like 3 weeks, and then we would do another session. But they kind of wrote it as we went along. So there was a Bible that they kind of followed, but there was also a lot of stuff that changed. It's very malleable.
It kept evolving as the process went on.
Yeah.
How many pages do you think roughly you get through a project like that per day?
It depends on. So with Fallout, it was. It wasn't like a screamy action game. So what it runs like is like if I'm doing like call-outs like on a game like Call of Duty or something. I played a Russian soldier in Call of Duty 2, and that was all like military barks. So you can go through those pretty quickly because it's like, you know, give me the gun, put the gun down, pick the gun back up.
There's only so many deliveries like, you can get those lines.
And you can get through like 600 queues in 4 hours, which is, you know, that's 150 queues that you're doing 2 to 3 per minute. So it's a pretty fast clip. But then when it's a lot of exposition stuff, like I work on Elder Scrolls, and the lines are like a paragraph of words, made up words, and so that's, you know, we go through it's a quick pace too, but most of the time it's like, how do you pronounce this? And everyone's like, well, I think we've been pronouncing it this way, but hold on, let's make a call.
How do you pronounce a word with 6 J's?
Yeah, and a Y and a Z, and you're like, forget it.
They're just making up their own language.
And sometimes I'm like, you guys are just messing with us, right? Like, I'm sure the writers are like, let's see if they can pronounce this one.
I'm blown away at the extensive lore of the Elder Scrolls series in general.
It's amazing.
I played what was it? The third, Morrowind. I played Morrowind back in like high school, and I was like, this game is great. And then like years later, I don't think anything of it. I come back and they're like, oh, there's a bunch more games, and there's this entire universe of lore spanning dimension traveling gods and stuff. I'm like, what happened? I just wanted to.
I stepped away for a decade, and what happened?
I just wanted to pickpocket a cat man.
Exactly.
That's all I wanted to do.
Hey, those are my people.
They're fine.
Eastern European cat lady.
Oh, fun. Can we get a little Khajiit?
Maybe. This one says no.
Okay.
No Khajiit for you.
No Khajiit for me. Excellent. Now, I actually just recently purchased a game, and I have not started yet, that I found out you were in, and I'm very excited. Batman, Arkham Knight.
Yes. It's so funny because I'm in that for like two seconds.
You're gonna be the best 2
like,
seconds of the game.
What's up, Sergeant Henry? And I'm like, okay. I'm the woman who's arguing with her husband in like the diner, and then Sergeant, and everyone's like, what's up, Batman? And I'm like, of all the things I've done, this is okay, cool.
Sure. And now
say hi.
Batman. I'm excited.
I'm excited. You're excited.
And then let's see, regular show.
Yes.
So you are Starla.
Yes.
Principal.
Yes.
And then you are also, see, I have here in my notes, Starla plus, and then I just wrote the infinity symbol.
500
ancillary
characters.
500 ancillary characters. What is it like working on a show like that, where you have your mainstay, this is your character, and then you've just grown so many other things to do? Do they just pull you aside after like every recording session, go like, oh, by the way, we just want to get a couple extra things? Or do they plan for that? Do you do additional days for that?
Well, okay, so working on animation is different because those are group reads, and so and you do get the script in advance, which is different than games because most of the time you don't. In video games, they're just like, surprise! This is what you're doing.
Here's the book, read it.
Like, yeah. But with regular show, that was my first sort of regular animation gig. And so we would get the scripts in advance, and so I was already nervous because when I went in to start work on it, they were like I walked in and everyone had already been established. They had been working on it for a couple of seasons at that point. And fun fact, the iCarly episode I did with the tacos, the other judge was the guy who ended up playing Rigby. So when I was at iCarly, he was like, hey, I think I really like doing, I did some VO and it's cool, and can you give me any pointers? And I was like, oh, sure, let me give you some pointers. And we had this big conversation, and I'm like, well, good luck, buddy, you know, like, let me know if you need anything. Cut to like 2.5 years later, I walk in and he's the lead on the show, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's going pretty well for you.
your advice worked out
Apparently,
very well.
talk to me about getting into voiceover because you'll be the lead on a very popular show in 2.5 years.
I'm really excited for my 2.5 years.
That's right. Write that down, kids. What was the question? How do they prepare? So, sorry, I have ADHD.
Principal character versus
Principal character.
the ancillary character.
So I would be like, okay, yay, Starlet, and then I would look at the script and it would say like, you know, like Japanese game show girl or something, and I'm like, or like Rigby's mom or something like that, and I just, it was a great learning experience because you really just ended up being like, okay, because working in video games for me is very much like, it's very grounded, very cinematic acting, where it's really dramatic to me, and animation is way more, it's still got the same tenets of, you know, the scene study parts of things, like what your character's doing. It's just heightened circumstances and heightened reactions to things, but it moves at such a way quicker clip and everything, and they do throw you stuff where you're like they might throw me like an Eastern European cat lady or something in a game, and I'm like, oh, that's fine. But like when they're like, you're a 2-year-old, like, you know, dragon baby or something, and you're just like, oh, okay. So it kind of turns your brain. Somebody like Kari Whalgren does that stuff all the time. She walks in every day and it's just like, oh, what are we doing? That's fine, because that's her forte is animation. But for me, I was always like on the tightrope of just like, oh, don't screw this up, okay, oh my god. Because sometimes they'd be like, let me hear your version of this. And if you suck, then they just go to somebody else in the cast and they're like, yeah, okay, and how about your version of that? And so they come, like, it's a little stressful. And so it's fine, but like when you're working with people, like, and then of course I walk in on my first day and they're like, where should we put her? Let's put her here. You can sit next to Mark. And I'm like, Mark Hamill? I'm gonna sit next to Mark Hamill? And I was like, hold on 1 second. And I like walked out in the hallway. I was like,
that's the appropriate reaction.
And then I'm like, okay.
Calm and composed.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Cortney. I'm like,
was it Mark?
inside.
Was it Mark?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm sorry, what was your last name? And inside, I'm like the 9-year-old in me is like, every single time. And he would just be like, what's your favorite name? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. My name does not matter. Your name matters.
Now, perfect segue. Speaking of hyperactive screaming 9-year-olds.
Yes.
Your performance on OKKO.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So that is, I think, that is your most recent kind of continuous, ongoing. It's still going.
Oh yeah. So working on, oh my gosh, OKKO is so different than anything. So most of the stuff that I've worked on has been video games like Resident Evil or Fallout or see you.
I'm a Capcom fan.
Oh, nice. Okay, yes.
And I totally watch OKKO to support.
Thank you. So it's a huge departure from like Ada Wong or Jack from Mass Effect, and so it was kind of a dream when they were like, you're going to play this 6 to 11-year-old boy who wants to be a superhero, or just a hero actually. And I just, for the first season, I just kept pinching myself because it was so. I had a really hard year personally the first season, and to be able to get. The great thing about going to work as a voice actor is you walk into the booth and everything else kind of, like you literally shut the door on the world, and it can be really amazing way to kind of get out of whatever you've got going on personally. And I had an extremely hard year and was really struggling with some pretty depressing stuff, and to go in and actually find this character that was so full of hope and light, and loves people and wants to believe the best in people. It was this amazing, like, just escape. And I would walk out, and for a few hours afterwards, I would be like, "It's gonna be okay. It's great." I'm like, I'm so, and then something would happen, and I would kind of get kicked back to reality. But he's been an absolute. I'm so happy to be able to put that kind of work out into the world. Because sometimes I do think about, like, I want to put good out into the world. And some of the stuff that I work on, some of the video games are pretty violent, and you know, I worry sometimes about content. And so to have this where Cartoon Network is really amazing. I'm sure you guys are Steven Universe fans, and Adventure Time, and all that kind of, you know, those kinds of programs where the representation is pretty fantastic for people of, you know, different gender and sexuality identities. And so it makes me really happy to have, like, KO has a mom, a really strong mom that runs a dojo for heroes, and it's all women in the dojo. And you know, Mr. Gar is super tough and everything's like, hey, you know, and yet he is a bumbling, like, softie when he gets around KO's mom. And that there's
we talked about this a little bit last night at the intro panel, just how we're seeing an amazing, like, wave of really progressive animated series coming out. Like, in a world without Mr. Rogers, we're finally getting shows that are, like, just showing people amazing examples of, like, just really good, simple, just morality and accepting other people.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and it's wonderful that this is part of that.
It's and I love the fact, like Enid, if you guys watch the show, you know, we were all wondering, like, about Enid because she has some, I'm not gonna spoil, but in the end I finally just asked Ian, who is our creator, who is Rebecca Sugar's partner. I was just like, what's the deal? And he's like, oh, she's fine. She's fine. And I'm like, great, cool. Like, growing up, I grew up in San Francisco, in the Castro, and, like, Bay Area, woo!
Yeah, shout out to everyone from the Bay Area.
That's right, that's right. So I grew up in San Francisco, in the Castro, and then we moved to Berkeley when I was 15, and I went to Berkeley High, and there was always kids with two moms or two dads, and kids, you know, I was a punk rock kid, and so it's really important for me to be part of representation for people who might be underrepresented in mainstream culture right now, and to support that's coming through, both in animation and in games. I think it's especially in video games. We have a long way to go, but I'm thrilled to see much wider representation.
It's fantastic. Now, you mentioned that you are a California native, as am I.
Yes. Yeah.
What was it like for you, kind of getting into voice acting in this area? I mean,
Well,
was it a move down to LA, or was the fight really up here in the NorCal?
I got in, so when God was a boy, or a girl, I got into, I went to ACT for, in San Francisco, and I was applying for a master's program in New York, and I was also running a boxing gym at the same time, because that's what you do. You punch people in the face, and you do Shakespearean monologues. And I applied for a master's program in New York, and I was turned down because my voice was too deep and scratchy, and I had vocal cord nodes from screaming at people and in boxing. And
it's important to, you're not just going
right, I just wasn't screaming at people, but so I would be yelling at people to do push-ups and stuff like that, and so which has factored into a lot of my video game work.
That's good though.
Sergeant Hammer from Heroes of the Storm. That's just me teaching a boxing class.
And you were saying last night that being able to know what it's like to take a punch,
yeah,
informs
totally
how to
helps.
do.
Exactly, just, you know.
Yeah, shout out for people who know how to take a punch.
That's right.
Woo!
Or
Somebody clapping.
I know. So they're like, whoa, yeah. Also, get punched in the face and punching somebody in the face.
Great. Oh, better fun.
Don't try that at home, kids.
Don't, yeah. In the ring.
So, but there wasn't a lot of voice. So basically, I went and I got turned down for this audition, and he was like, "You have a terrible voice." And I went back to one of my teachers, and she said, "You should try voiceover." And I didn't know what it was. So she was like, "You know, when you listen to commercials on TV, they have like a bodiless voice that talks." And I was like, "Oh yeah, totally. I love that stuff. I love singing jingles and stuff like that." And so I went to my first voiceover class, and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I love this. This is like what I was meant to do." Because I grew up, like, you know, in San Francisco traffic, reading to my mom, like, you know, The Phantom Toll Booth, or like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and those kind of books, and like, you know, making all the characters and stuff. But unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of work in San Francisco. So although I did do some commercial work up here, I had an agent up here eventually, which is a whole other story, but I harassed an agent into being my agent. Don't give up, kids. Just keep trying. No is just yes to a different question.
It helps if you are a professional boxer as well, I'd imagine.
Or just persistently pushy. I call it professionally persistent?
I like that.
But,
that is a very nice way of saying
just keep calling back.
Yeah.
So I did end up moving down to Los Angeles and actually not working down there for like a year. I was a waitress forever. So I waited tables at like the Cheesecake Factory and stuff and just cried in my car every day after work. But eventually I got an agent and I started working, and because if you do want to work in voiceover, animation, video games, and commercials are all done in LA. Whereas up here, it's pretty difficult, I think, to make a living doing it.
It is tricky.
So.
I mean, we're seeing more and more, there's a lot more video game development.
Right. You have 2K up here, who does a lot of the sporting games.
Bungie as well, does a lot in the area. But then I know...
And there's a lot of independent houses up here, too,
yes.
which is great.
And a lot of them tend to do a lot of commercial work. You find a lot of commercial work up here, some video games, but a lot of the major stuff still going to be down now. Are you still in are you down in LA now?
Mm-hmm. I still have an agent up here, and I have an agent in New York, but the majority of everything that I do is in Los Angeles. And so, but I come up here because I like it. That's where I'm from. That's my hometown. Yeah. But it is, I think, if you had any inclination to getting into voiceover work, it's a great small pond up here. And I'm super excited. I've been working with the interactive committee for SAG-AFTRA, which is our union, to work with some of the smaller independent video game companies up here to use union talent. Because there's some great stories that are coming out. Unfortunately, Telltale Games, who did The Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
I was Meredith Quill. Yes, Peter Quill's mom. Star-Lord's mom. Just shuddered, which sucks, but...
like, literally, if anyone's not familiar with the story, this is like very breaking news.
Yeah.
It was, what, last Friday before yesterday. They shut down and let everybody go in the day.
Yeah. So they kept like a core group of like 25 people on, but there's these amazing, I don't know if you guys play any of those games, but they're amazing storytellers, and the games are beautiful, and unfortunately, all those people are looking now to be absorbed into different companies, but...
I'm excited to see what other companies are going to do with the fantastic just wealth of talent that Telltale had.
And I worked on something on Thursday with some people from Netflix, and I was just like, oh, by the way, I'm like, you should really buy the Stranger Things game from, you know, like, I'm like, I know you guys are looking at it, they're just looking at me like, how do you know this? And I'm like, you should just buy it. Just buy it and buy The Wolf Among Us. Buy all of it.
Buy all the properties.
Yeah, come on.
That would be great.
Like, it's beautiful stuff. So, if you haven't checked out their games, check it out.
Now, there was one more title on my fantastic card, Deep Cuts.
Oh no.
So you were in a film about a tire.
Yes.
Were you expecting me to ask you about that?
Everybody loves the tire movie.
Okay, so I only know kind of like third hand about it. Would you mind describing the concept of this? Was it a short film or a feature?
Oh no, it's a feature.
It's a full feature.
It's a full feature. I was in a movie called Rubber. It is about a sentient tire. Thank you so much. They're out there. So a French DJ, Mr. Bozo, he decided to start directing, and his first feature was called Rubber, and it's about a sentient tire who is out for revenge. And so he's out in the desert and he kills people with his mind, his tire mind. And so it's kind of David Lynch-esque. And I just play a cop, but the cool thing about it is that, and is anyone here, does anyone want to be an actor or a voice actor? Okay, so here's the deal with that. I saw the breakdown for this, and it said, you know, looking for cops the roles of cops, and it didn't say, it implied men, but it didn't say male only. So I just dropped off my headshot a couple of times and was like, it doesn't say I can't, so why not? And they were like, and I think I was like one of the only women who dropped off a headshot, and they were like, oh yeah, we don't have any girls in this, we need to have a girl in it. And so I booked the role of this cop, and it's with the people from the show Oz, if you ever watched that show, or the original cast of Angels in America on Broadway. It's a pretty great cast, and we just went out into the desert and
acted against
Talyor. And the best part was that it was such a weird thing. He's very French, and he just was like walking around, like smoking cigarettes, and just he was in the set. We had like a prop wheelchair, and he would just wheel around in it. I mean, he could walk, but he would just wheel around in it, smoking cigarettes. And so, of course, I'm with all these guys from Oz, and they're, you know, real actors. And so I'm like, hey, I don't even understand what's going on in this script. It's so weird. Like, Killer Talyor, what? And they're like, yeah, just act like you know what you're doing. And I was like, okay, great. And then finally,
it's a double acting job.
Yeah, finally one of them, like, we were like, hey, is this like a Keystone Cops thing? Are we supposed to be capable? Is this like, you know, CSI or something? And he's just sitting there staring at us, smoking in his wheelchair. He's like, I don't know, man, just look for the Talyor. That's what you do, just look for the Talyor. And I was like, all right, we'll just look for Talyor. So that's what we did. I was like, is it here? No. Is it a black tire? Is it rubber? So.
Is it a white wall?
That was literally, that's the whole scene.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, it's very strange. But you know what? Never say no to acting jobs, because sometimes you do something and then you're 15 years later in Oakland and people are clapping for a Killer Talyor movie that you did.
Yep.
Thank you.
And of course, you know, look for every opportunity. If it doesn't say...
So yes.
If it doesn't specify something that you are not, just do it.
Seriously,
I need you.
No is just yes to a different question, in anything. So, the guy who said that I couldn't, he wouldn't accept my application for this theater program. So that was the start of my voiceover career, right? Because I probably was talking like this at the point that, because I had some pretty bad vocal cord notes, but this man told me I sucked, and that I would never work in this field that I thought I wanted to work in. And then I went from there, and somebody was like, hey, go check this thing out. And I was like, oh, this is what I meant to do. And it was so amazing. This guy made me cry in this audition, and then I walked home feeling terrible about myself, and then literally within 2.5 years, 3 years, I was the voice of Toyota cars, doing TV commercials, and still waiting tables at the Cheesecake Factory, but that's another story. But, you know, like, don't let people tell you that whatever the thing is that is, like, wrong with you, the thing that people tease you about, the thing that people tell you is, like, weird about you, is usually the thing that's going to be your superpower. So just keep that in mind, because, and just, if someone tells you no, just rephrase the question.
And speaking of questions, I think we are coming up here for some audience questions.
Hit me, ask me anything.
Let's, I think we only have the 2 mics, so I'm going to go join our audience.
Okay. All right.
You keep one.
I was like,
you get to answer
here,
them.
hold on. I'll do it. Hey.
Oh, no.
Hi. Why? What happens? I'll jump back up. Hold
somebody
on.
who fortunately is not here would yell.
What do you think of Venom? Like the movie, this movie.
Oh, the one with Tom Hardy? What do I think about it? Oh my gosh. I'm super excited and I'm scared, but I have a huge crush on Tom Hardy, so I'm not sure how this is going to work out for me, because I think maybe, I mean, I love him now, but I might not love him afterwards. So, or I might love him more, which is going to really scare me. Right?
Basically, you're not in the same boat, but I can do exactly what he does, but a lot more evil.
That is basically...
Maybe I don't even need to go see the movie.
We just saw it. That was, I mean, that's probably the majority of the experience. Does anyone else have any other questions? Fantastic.
Tell us about the t-shirt you're wearing.
Ooh, oh my God, I love you
What are
so
you
much.
wearing?
I love you so much. My t-shirt is designed by me.
And it says, oh, we got the badge going, Nerds Vote.
Nerds vote. I love you for asking. And then, not a plant. So I started this thing because I was unhappy with the way things were going in the world about just about 10 months ago. And I was talking to Ashley Birch. Do you guys know who Ashley Birch is?
Love Ashley Birch.
Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, I'm totally just trading currency on my friends. But I'm like, Ashley and I are besties, and she plays Enid and OKKO, and we hang out all the time. So we were eating chips at a Mexican place, and maybe a margarita.
Margarita?
Yes, margaritas. They're very big margaritas,
Okay.
just one.
One, but very large.
Right, and also Ashley is like, seriously, like she can fit in my pocket, so we have to, yeah. I was feeding her with an eyedropper.
Good. A thimble.
Yes, exactly. She was taking little sips off of the egg cup. And I was like, I feel like, you know, we're always working in these, in rooms by ourselves. Like, how can we affect any change? Because we're never around people. And then I was like, wait a second, we actually go to conventions. And so it sparked this whole conversation where I was like, what a target-rich environment of people who are underrepresented.
Yes.
For, you know, I mean, nerds have been underrepresented or made fun of and not taken into account for a long time.
I remember being very thoroughly teased.
Right, like I was a punk rocker and I felt completely marginalized, and that's, you know, and so all of us can relate to feeling like we're not being represented. And I was like, here's a whole group of people who are right around voting age, and now they're letting you pre-register to vote, in California especially. And I was like, wouldn't that be cool if we could get the opportunity to just register as a non-partisan thing? And so I had talked to Dragon Con a couple of years ago, and they said, we don't do politics. And I was like, this isn't really politics, this is civic duty, right? I'm not telling you who to vote for or what party to register for or anything. Just get out and use this power that you have. And so they said no a couple of years ago, and then I hit them up this year, and I was like, how about now? Because we got our cool t-shirts and stuff, and our usual logo is Nerds Vote with some broken glasses with some tape in the middle. And I do have stickers and I have pins, so if you come hang out with me during signings and stuff, I'll have some of those for you. But we were welcome to Dragon Con. We register hundreds of people to vote at every convention that we've gone to so far, and people are learning about pre-registering, and they're also learning about something called Turbo Vote. You can go to turbovote.com, and you'll get SMS messages so that you don't miss a voting day. So it'll say like, hey, you know, just remember, like next week's voting day, and then tomorrow's voting day. And what Nerds Vote is also doing, we're in the process right now of putting together a Nerds Vote party, so that we have a menu that you can print up. You can make cocktails and non-alcoholic beverages. You and your friends get together like the night in the days before voting day, which is November 6th. November 6th. And you get together, you make some snacks, you have some cocktails or some juice, and you and your friends go through the issues and talk about them so that you're ready to roll the next day. You're not walking in like, I don't remember which judge, I don't know what's happening. And you don't have to tackle looking at everything. You can just be like, hey, you be in charge of this judge and you be in charge of this senator, and then we'll go through and we'll read the pros and cons. So you can do it beforehand, or you can have a, like, we all voted today, we're awesome, let's get together and have snacks.
That's an amazing way of encouraging people to, like, become educated.
Yeah, and make it fun, right? Because, I mean, people die in other countries for the opportunity to vote, and women fought for the opportunity to vote, and representation is important. If you've ever felt like you were marginalized, if you've ever felt like your voice didn't matter, that your opinion didn't matter, it does matter. And this is a way for all of us to get together as the group of people who likes to do this stuff. This is our jam. These are our friends.
This is our tribe.
This is our tribe, and these are our people, and so get together and make sure that your voice is heard, and have a good time while you're doing it. And what better way than to do, like, as a party, and also you can get on Twitter and you can talk to Steve Bloom, who's the voice of Wolverine and everything else, you know, Cowboy Bebop and everything, right? But he'll totally be like, how cool is that? Like, if you come to a place, you can take a photo with him, and then just think about that. Like, if he's like, hey guys, register, and you're like, I registered, and he's like, you're awesome. Like, you have this amazing direct line to the people that inspire you and their work that you like, and you can have a conversation about that.
Plus, if Wolverine tells you to vote and you don't, yeah, you don't want that.
Right.
I think we've got time for another couple of questions over here.
What was it like working with Kari Whalgren for Guild Wars? Did you interact much, especially with the new content coming out?
It's Kari like Ferrari and Whalgren like, what rhymes with friend? Friend. She's my friend. She's very difficult. She's a total diva. It's like the car service, the champagne on site, the water temperature. She has to have like some pH water that's like, I don't know, 69 degrees.
She sounds terrible. And you definitely don't want to stick around after this panel.
Because diva.
But she will be here later, just in case.
She's right there, actually. She's right there. So she knows. Yeah.
Hello.
I did not get to actually personally work with her on Guild Wars because we all record separately, but I do get to work with her on OKKO because she plays Shannon, who is one of my arch nemesis. Is that a word? Nemesis?
I know.
I like nemesi. It's plural, but she's yes, exactly. She's very nemmy. And she's super fun. She sings. She comes alive behind the mic. It's like she's kind of bipolar. Shh, don't tell her. But like
I don't think she'll know.
No, she won't. She's this like lovely woman from Kansas who's super sweet. She's my neighbor. She's my best friend. And she gets behind the mic, and then she turns into like a drunk bunny rabbit, or like a very timid little tumbleweed, or a million different things, and you just go like, whoa! And then she packs it all back up and is like, sweetie, honey, do you want to go for a margarita? And I'm like, okay, great. Not that we all drink margaritas every single day, right?
No.
But like, yeah.
If you're an adult of legal drinking age and you drink responsibly, margaritas are good.
Exactly, especially after you watched Kari doing the diarrhea song for 20 minutes, which I did say last night. I do have a video on my phone, so if you come by while I'm signing, I will play that video for you.
What an incentive to come
I know.
signing.
That's right.
Have sandwiches.
Excellent. Any other questions from our fabulous audience? I'm going to do a light jog. There we go. That's my workout for the day.
You don't want to
Hi,
buy
so
it.
yesterday you mentioned that you, as terms of voice acting, you started off with commercial voice acting and transitioned to character voice acting. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about how that transition went for you.
Sure. Thank you. That's an awesome question. So I did start out doing commercials, and then people kept saying, oh, you should do video games. And I'm like, I'm trying. And I kept auditioning, and I didn't book anything. And I was like, I feel like I have a tough girl voice, and like, you know, like, I know how to take a punch and stuff like that. Like, this is my jam. And I think the thing with voiceover is that there's so many people that do so many different voices, so you can populate a game or an animated series with very few people. And so if it isn't broke, don't fix it. It's that idea of like, I know people who can already do this, why would I go with somebody who's an unknown quantity? But there was a director named Chris Zimmerman who has she gave me my first opportunity. I worked on a Star Trek game doing some additional voices. And I think from there, they kind of realized, like, word gets around, and really there's very few directors direct a lot of the games. So it is a very kind of insular thing, and I think once you kind of break through and people know what you can do, then you become one of those people that they kind of reach for a lot. But it did take me, I'd say, I moved to Los Angeles in '98, I think, and I really started working in games in like 2002 or 2003 was when it first started. So just patience, and then also Chris Zimmerman gave me my first animated job on regular show as well, so being nice to people. always is a great plan of action.
In everything.
In everything,
Just
absolutely.
be super nice.
Yeah, be super nice. Don't get walked on, but be super nice and polite to people, and tell them that you love them, and deep friendships always help. A rising tide lifts all boats. But and as far as animation goes, I still take animation classes. It's not the thing that I'm a natural at. So in almost every part of voiceover, I've been doing it for 20 years, but I believe you can always learn new things. And so when I'm sitting in a session, I'm watching Kari, I'm watching, Ashley Birch, I'm watching, Roger Craig Smith do their thing, and I'm paying attention to try and get better. And I'm learning how to sing, which I don't sing, and so...
I'm pretty sure we heard a little bit of singing.
That was like yodeling.
It was great yodeling.
But yeah, I think that it's been a really nice journey, because it's felt like it's like this instead of this and this, which is harder. But I think that it's been more like this because I keep trying to add more tools to the toolkit. So
Never stop learning. All right. I think we have time for one more audience question. I'm seeing just like the tiniest little wave over here. I saw ya.
This is kind of an obscure question from an obscure game, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. What can you tell me about playing the character Heather Poe? Just so I can remember, I'm just curious.
There was, so Vampire the Masquerade is, that was the first time I played multiple actual notable roles in a game, and I kind of surprised myself, because I was like, oh, I played Doris and Rosa and Heather Poe and Damsel, and Damsel was super easy for me because she's just spaz who swears all the time, so I was like, I got this. But Heather was like this kind of feeble, druggy girl who was like, oh, whatever you want. And I was like, I didn't even know I had that voice in me. It was a little,
Expanding your range.
it was a little disturbing. That's another great thing about voiceover, is also you just have to trust that if you jump off, there'll be a net, and that whatever comes out of your mouth is gonna. That was the thing with regular show where I was like, okay, let's just try it. With Heather, it was very much, let's just try it and see if I can embody that character. And I thought, she's kind of. I was a little creeped out that people liked her so much, because she's really, she felt so passive to me. And I thought that Damsel was my favorite. But I also loved doing Doris and Rosa. But yeah.
It's fun to find that surprise in yourself, though.
It is.
Like, I didn't think that, and then people just tell you that it's great.
And people always surprise you with the things they like, hence people clapping for Rubber.
Yes. Once again, clap for Rubber. I have to see that.
That's something. But yeah, I think it was really fun to find that character, especially kind of on the fly. I didn't prep for it. They kind of were just like, oh, you're doing this. And it's amazing to me that people still love that game. That it's really like, that's been, 15 years since that game came out? And somebody was tweeting about it yesterday. And I was like, it's got some staying power. Maybe it'll come back to haunt us one day. That'd be cool.
Well, hopefully, and we're looking forward to, you said it was a new game coming out soon?
I have a couple of new games coming out. Can't say, unfortunately.
But are you on social media? If people follow you, can they find out more about that?
Okay, so kids, here's the thing. This is very important. So I'm at Cortney Talyor on Twitter, and on Instagram it's at Cortney Talyor LA. But my name is spelled Courtenay. Court, E-N-A-Y. Courtney, N-E-Y, is somebody different who may or may not have acted in some adult movies.
So be very careful, once again.
So depending on what you're looking for, you may be surprised if it's E-N-A-Y, Courtenay.
Courtenay.
Because, and I'll leave you with this This is why game fans are awesome. Is that I went on the boards one day when I was feeling not good about myself. Don't ever check the boards. And somebody had actually put like, "Hey guys, I found out who voices Jack in Mass Effect. It's this chick." And they had posted a picture of this adult model. And then somebody said, "Hey dude, I hate to disappoint you, but the voice of Jack is actually this chick," and had put my headshot up. And I was like, oh God, seriously? And then from that, Mass Effect fans had a big discussion about how we looked and our bodies at work. And they came to the fact that it was a draw. That everybody has things that are beautiful about them and talents, and both of them are great.
You just phrased that as the only nice civil conversation that has ever happened in a message board.
Yes, and so Mass Effect fans are very close to my heart.
Mass Effect fans! Woo! Excellent. Well, that is our time for this episode of The Squidly Show.
Thank you so much. I hope I get to talk to you guys individually. It was super fun to be here. Thank you for your great questions.
You have your signing coming up a little bit later this episode.
I do. And you can also follow Nerds Vote, at Nerds Vote on Insta and Twitter as well. And
November 6th.
November 6th, and if you want stickers, I have them, and I'm totally looking forward to hanging out with you guys this weekend.
And Cortney Taylor's autograph session is at 2:45 this afternoon.
Okay. Where's that hat, Kari Whalgren? Get up! Just kidding. I love her. She's my best friend and my neighbor, and she's gonna egg my house later.
Oh no!
Okay, so after seeing Cortney Taylor's interview on the Squidly Show, it looks like we're going to this off-the-grid event. It looks like there's a lot of people here. Not part of the convention there, but she wants to have fun, of course, when she's after my own stuff. Well, we might as well just check it out and see what it is. And after we're grabbing some lunch, and we're just gonna head back to the convention center. Okay, so we're back at the convention center about to panel. Hi guys. Hi. Kari, share what your panel is going to be about. I have a brother who's trying to develop his own game.
That's why.
Yeah. Well, best of luck with the panel, guys. Should be fun. Station right now because we are going to be doing something else for today. So KrakenCon is just about over for us for today, and well, maybe I might be back tomorrow. I don't know. It's going to be kind of hectic for me because well, we'll see. Well, if I can't, then I have enjoyed these final days of KrakenCon. Regrettably, it's last show. I told myself I wouldn't cry for this, but I gotta stay strong. I told myself I wouldn't cry for KrakenCon's final show. Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe things will change in sometime in the future, and KrakenCon might come back with, or maybe some new people might take its place. I don't know. Well, if not, it was a nice long run. Well, thank you very much, KrakenCon, for so many great years. This has been. I have enjoyed coming here. I am MegaJLan. Follow me on my Instagram, Facebook page, Twitter, Tumblr, and more. And I will see you all hopefully tomorrow, and if not, next videos.